Hello and welcome to this extra bit of content from Pulp Kitchen, which is our update on the Sundance Film Festival, where we are recording this episode right
We
now.
are here live reporting to you from the Sundance Film Festival.
From James's hotel room.
It is a very cold, negative 17 degrees centigrade. Yes. Every time I say the temperature to an American, they just like...
They glaze over. Because they have no idea.
They're like, yeah, it's been -7 today. Look, and they're like, what?
To any Americans listening, we love you.
We love
Fahrenheit, what the fuck's that about?
Oh, it's just...
What are you doing? 0 degrees.
Could have
Celsius
no conversation about temperature with them.
Yeah.
No conversation.
You know where you are with Celsius. 0 is frozen.
But guys, we wanted to do a whole bonus for you on just like the madness, the mayhem, the fun, the stories, the anecdotes of Sundance Film Festival, because we're going to say some stuff for the episode. We realised it would end up like completely dwarfing the episode itself. So this is a nice bonus of all of the fun we've had, the people we've met. And just for anyone who doesn't know, we're in Park City, Utah, about a 30-40 minute drive from Salt Lake City. And this is where the Sundance Film Festival takes place. It is an incredibly cinematic and broad but mountainous. It's flat and mountainous at the same time.
It's like a giant winter desert, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a winter desert. There's ski resort all over the sides of the mountains, thick snow, terribly cold. And there's one main high street, which is almost like a Royal Mile if you've been to the Edinburgh Fringe. And across the high street are like shops which don't feel real. We keep thinking they're like AI-generated shops. It's got a Western saloon vibe to it.
Because they're all timber framed. They're all flats from a set. You could just push them over at any moment.
And all the descriptions of the shops are so literal. Yeah. It's like, this is the eyelid, eye, nose, and mouth center. For eyes, nose, and mouth.
There was a restaurant called The Eating Establishment.
This is the ice creamery of selling ice cream. And this is boots, sandals, and leatherware.
And for those who don't know, Sundance Film Festival was started in 1981 by Robert Redford as a kind of champion of independent film in the US and beyond. And it's become a space that independent filmmakers bring their films to, and with great success.
And really nice, palpable excitement for filmmakers genuinely putting their film in front of an audience for the first time. And you know, when you see credits on the screen, the DOP and the crew and everyone is also seeing it for the first time. There's a wonderful, palpable excitement for everyone to show films off. We only got the chance to see 2 films while we were here because we were obligated to work. But I really like that we did have those experiences and it framed the talent we then talked to later.
So the whole reason we were here is we were working with Dropbox, who were hiring us as presenters to. They'd taken over a whole space in a building, like a storefront on this main street.
You've got brands like Adobe and Canon cameras and loads of others who basically have their little bit.
And upstairs are IndieWire, who are having long-form interviews with this talent. But the talent would come in, and before they go up for their interview, they'd stop by the Dropbox space, and we'd ask them a few questions about their film. And you've got a revolving door of major talent. Yeah. And we would have about 4 or 5 minutes interaction with them, sometimes as a group if you're lucky, sometimes with them in a room that is filled with a cafe at one end, publicists, makeup artists, the talent themselves, soundies, lighting people, PRs,
wranglers, just the whole thing.
Yeah, and you're in a space about the size of a hotel room, really. Actually. And that was really exciting.
And you're receiving everyone's PR energy is a little bit different, for better or worse. Mostly very positive. Lots of people understand they've got an obligation to talk about the film. Sometimes people are just like, who are you and what's the phone and what's this for? Sorry, we're contracted for here, not there. I'm so sorry, we're not going to be able to do this. Or just immediately holding you at an arm's length to not let you do it. So funnily enough, our first major talent that we were obliged to speak to was Sarah Jessica Parker, who came in with big diva glasses. And I love Sarah Jessica Parker. I love Sex and the City. I think she's really great fun. But it was just like, no, we're not going to do you. We don't know who you are.
She's an executive producer on this documentary, and she brought the 2 subjects of the documentary over, who are 2 librarians. Bear in mind, all of our questions are about films. Yeah. And she brought them over, and I thought, okay, we'll interview them as a group. It's fine. And she went, I'm just gonna come back. And we didn't get her. She did not go. Reader, she did not come back.
She did not come back.
And it was one of those unfortunate things to start the day with. But we'll tell you our all individual stories. But we, over the past 3 days, have been able to speak to such talent as
including but not limited to Olivia Colman, Dave Franco, twice.
Yes.
Alison Brie, Joel Edgerton, Benedict Cumberbatch, Josh O'Connor, Logan Lerman, Rachel Sennett, Lucas Hedges, Carey Mulligan, Ben Whishaw, Rebecca Hall, Callum Turner, J-Lo, that's a funny story, Sarah Jessica Parker, of course, Naomi Aki, Geraldine Viswanathan, Elijah Wood, just to name a few. mad.
So, as we said, that's how it works. They kind of bring him in. You get this little moment, and I mean, where to begin? We've had a blast. We've had an absolute blast, and it's access to talent that is a real privilege, and we've not had yet in our career as Pulp Kitchen.
Yeah. And there's this weird thing we kept talking about, which is this parasocial familiarity thing, where it's like, for example, with Elijah Wood, right? It has been in one of my favorite films I rewatch probably every year to 18 months. And I don't know this person, but I know so much about them, and I've seen them so many times, and I'm so familiar with exactly who they are, but I've never met them. No. And I describe it as like, it's someone who is in another year at your school who you've never spoken to, but you kind of know most things about them. So speaking to them is so comfortable for me. And he was lovely. Yeah. But I was like, you've never met this person, but I feel like I have. That's true with almost all of these people.
And you must keep an eye on our socials. We put some stories out, but we will be putting out a carousel later on. But like James's interaction with Elijah Wood, it looks like he's taken his son to school for the day.
I'm 6'6", and Elijah Wood is short and was cast as a hobbit for a reason. Yeah. And it looks like I am 3 meters closer to the camera when I'm right next to him. And he's also looking up at me, beaming. Yeah. He was lovely, and he was enthusiastic really nice. And intellectual and smart and compassionate, and just like gave you all the energy. And it was so lovely to speak to him. And the writer who was with him, I'm sorry I don't remember his name, was also giving a really great interview. And I finished my interview with him, and I didn't do this with anyone else, but I just followed Elijah, and I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, Elijah, I'm so sorry. I know you must get this all the time, but the Lord of the Rings films are undoubtedly one of the reasons I'm here today. I watch them all the time, and just like, your work has meant so much to me, so thank you. And he just went, oh my God, thank you so much. And I'm sure he's heard that 7,000 times, will continue to hear it for the rest of his life. But it is just kind of crazy to see somebody like, he's not my favorite actor, but I'm like, that's a really significant person who played the lead role in a film I deeply love. Yeah. And what a privilege it was, like a pinch me moment where we just get to go, I've met that person and got to shake their hand and say, I appreciate what you've done.
And what was quite nice is that, I mean, Dropbox were asking us to alternate the interviews, but because the space we were in, like I said, was the size of a hotel room, you were quite contained with these people, and often after you'd finish the interviews, they would still be waiting to go upstairs to talk to IndieWire. Yes. So they'd like hang around. So, for example, a great time we had on Friday was with Olivia Colman, who already we knew from Reputation is an absolute darling. Yes. Absolutely lovely.
But I think maybe you and I thought, would she be media resistant?
Yes.
Would she be slightly difficult or prickly?
Yes.
But that was not the case in the slightest.
And as you touched on earlier, there's this, sometimes the publicists, they see Dropbox, and because it's a brand, they get nervous about putting their talent in front of it because they think they're going to be made to endorse a product.
And we're in this front of this branded wall that's Dropbox all behind us. So
but luckily, they didn't get that. That wasn't the case at all. She turned up with a lovely publicist who was really lovely. It also helped that we had seen the film that they were promoting the day before, which was one of those great experiences where we knew nothing about it. It was fresh out of the oven. The filmmaker, Sophie Hyde, who made Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, came on stage and said, we literally finished it on Friday. I'm showing it to you for the first time. We didn't know anything about it. It was about. We just knew that Olivia Colman was in it.
Also, I think with specifically the British members, there's a British factor which has definitely worked in our favour for a lot of talent. So this kind of worked. So you did your interview, and some of them were hanging around, and I'd sort of seen them in the film, and they were hanging out by the coffee machine, and I felt like it was fairly approachable, and I just went up to two of them, and I just said, oh, I'm so sorry, I just want to say, I caught Jim Parr last night. I thought it was really great. I just want to congratulate
Jim Parr's the name of the movie.
Jim Parr's the name of the film. I want to congratulate you both on the film. And they were just like, oh, thanks so much. Nice to meet you. And they knew that we were part of One Piece. And they just asked me my name. I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, you from London? Yeah. And then talking. And then Olivia finished with you, came over. I shook her hand, and then you'd come in. And all of a sudden, we were just having this lovely conversation. And it was like we had met someone who just like works in your office. Yeah. And it helped that we'd done like an industry interview.
Yes.
But Olivia Colman was
and helped we like the film.
Helped we like the film.
We were genuinely
we were British. Where are you from? Where do you live? What's this? And they were just lovely.
They were, yeah. So yeah, it was this British and Australian contingent.
And Australian, yeah.
And like they just got it. We had the same vibe. And yeah, that was the thing. Like getting to interview her was wonderful, and she gave us great content. Yeah. She was sparkling and wonderful as you'd expect her to be, and really funny. But we were really expecting that to be it. Yeah. And then you find we just were stood around waiting and having this lovely chat. And we talked about the fact that like, because it's obviously freezing here, all of us were wearing like really nice knitwear. Yeah. And she stroked my arm and she said, oh yes, I know, this is lovely. Absolutely lovely.
She went to me and she said, we used a cardigan version of this in the film of My All Saints thing. It's very touchy, isn't it? Yeah. And the director's child who is in the film playing themselves is a fan of our stuff, which was fantastic.
They came in and they give a great performance in Jinpa. Like, it's really moving.
It's hard to because nobody knows what this film is yet because it's got no marketing.
Yeah.
But I think this might make sense to you guys whenever it's out, but I think that's a really difficult role to get right. And considering their age, I think they did great.
They did great. And they saw us and they said, "Oh, I see you guys all the time." We're like, "But we've just seen you do an amazing performance."
We're like, "Good, we're in. Trust, come and speak to us."
And then we stood around chatting with Olivia Colman about how her sons are really tall, like us.
Because obviously, tools trouble.
If you've seen the videos on social media, you see we are really tall. I mean, I know Elijah Wood is small, but and that was really lovely. Again, it felt like peers. And we're talking like a 10-minute conversation here. It was really lovely.
Just so nice.
And then we would bump into a couple of members of the cast again, like throughout the festival. And it just felt so nice.
Another one that was really funny was with Callum Turner. He's going out with Dua Lipa, and he's been in things like Masters of the Air and a couple of other films. He's a very good-looking guy, and he's wearing a gorgeous jacket. And he had like come over to me, and I tend to, as everyone else is getting the camera set up, I just tend to go, "Oh, hey, like, how's your Sundance going?" And he was like, "Oh, you're English, you're from London." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, nice, where are you based?" And I told him I was based in Chalk Farm. And he's like, "Oh, we're neighbours, I'm in King's Cross." And we ended up just talking about where we lived for a while, and I realised like I maybe had 2 minutes with him, and I was like, "I'm so sorry, Callum, I'm wasting your time. Can we please get on and do the interview?" And he's just a nice guy. And I asked him where his gorgeous jacket was, and he said, "Yeah, it's Louis Vuitton." And I just played it cool as if like I could ever afford one. And I was like, "Oh yeah, nice, lovely."
Of course, I've been meaning to pick mine up.
As if I've actually been browsing Louis Vuitton recently. Oh yeah, of course, I've seen some of them.
I've seen that range.
Yeah, it was like a Masters of Air flight jacket with like a fur collar, suede.
But yeah, the Brits really did deliver because when Josh O'Connor, similar thing, lovely, really nice as well, came over, and it was just kind of like, "You're British,
English."
And he actually did start to talk to us. He was like, "Oh, I'm based in Stroud, and you guys," and then he had to be taken away. But like they did connect. And today when we did Kerry Mulligan and Ben Whishaw. A funny thing about Kerry Mulligan is that before they arrived in this tight space, we were waiting, we got lots of talent, and I said, right, I'm going to nip to the loo, right? So pop down the corridor to dip to the loo, which, anyway, and then I come out the loo, and Kerry Mulligan has just stood there waiting to go in.
And I knew George had gone to the toilet, and I see Kerry Mulligan make a beeline for the toilet, and I'm like, they're going to be in the toilet.
I have nothing to be concerned about. It wasn't that kind of visit to the toilet, you know what I'm saying? But what you don't want to have when you come out of the toilet is an Oscar-nominated Hollywood actor just stood there. So I was like,
Alison Brie had very intense energy with me, who was
really
lovely.
Playful.
Really, because it was three of them. We all had to get tight, and she just sort of nestled herself right here and got. It's a very strange and slightly intense photo of us. Dave Franco, what a lovely guy.
We had a good
chat
with him.
He's in a fun film called
Bubble and Squeak.
Bubble and Squeak. And we saw him one day, and then that evening we saw the film. We got to speak to him again, and it was really nice to see him again, congratulate him on the film, and just have they shot this film in Estonia, and just got to ask him like you would a friend. And he's like, "Oh yeah, have you been to Estonia?
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's awesome. Yeah.
It's awesome. Go, you gotta go."
Yeah.
And
they were treating me like Tom Cruise out there.
It was so funny, man. They were treating
really
me like
sweet.
Tom Cruise.
He's
tiny.
He's tiny.
He's a small man, but really sweet. Not really Hollywood.
No
like
ego.
I thought he might have been.
There we go.
No ego, good-looking guy, very friendly.
Quite
He's got
shy
a great
even,
sense of humour, actually, and doesn't take himself too seriously, which I really like as a quality generally from people. And he was just really nice.
And what was quite nice as well with like being in the space with these people is that like again we'd finished the interview and you could just say things like for example Geraldine Vaswanathan was wearing this amazing like cow hair coat, whatever. I said, "That's a lovely jacket, by the way." She was like, "Oh thanks, it was my roommate's, I just picked it up." And you interviewed Rachel Sennett, which is great. I was talking about this with
she was great
Saturday night. Great, and she got it. She just got this assignment straight away.
Big eyes, in a nice way, like big mouth, big eyes, big personality, and brings the energy, and it's just good fun.
And it's that thing where like, so she finished with James, which is great, and she went off to the loo, again, another famous person using that. And she came back and I just stopped her and said, "Oh, by the way, I've just seen Saturday Night, which has only just come out in the UK." And she was like, "Oh my God, what did you think? Oh, that was so much fun to film. It was so energetic." I said, "Yeah, we don't get Saturday Night Live out in the UK." So she's like, "Oh, it was so awesome, man. What's your name?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was great." And there was a nice bit. So Molly Gordon, if you guys have seen The Bear, who also looked immaculate, they bumped into each other because they were in Shiver Baby together. And there was this whole, "Oh my God, how are you? We love you."
A short one we have, which is very opposite, was Himesh Patel, who I think's lovely. He was being rushed out of the interview, and he actually. I was like, it was like, "How long has it been?" I was like, "It's 1 minute," and he was like, "Okay," but Peter was pulling him, and he was like, "I can do it.
I can do 1 minute."
Then he does this lot of like sort of intense frowning, and I think he likes to talk intellectually about the film that he's in,
and. he's another one we can add to the list.
Joel Edgerton we got to speak to.
Joel was great.
Joel's lovely.
An actor we've
really
spoken
chill.
about many times that we really like.
I said he's the best supporting actor you could cast in your film, and I mean that. And like he really delivers, and he's noticeably really good in everything he does. But he's really like chill. He could be quite an unapproachable movie star, but he was casual and cool and friendly, and he talked about like the free swag that was coming around.
Again, it's the thing. Interviewed him, went very nice, and then you just stood, you put the microphone down, there's this sort of silence, and then we got talking about the swag, and he's like, I used to come here with this other A-list actor that I won't mention, who would come in looking for the swag, and just having a nice little chat.
Opposite energy, but not necessarily in a bad way, but in terms of how PR, I think, was surrounding him, was Benedict Cumberbatch, who I do think is a really nice guy.
Yes.
But you did get the chance to speak to him.
Yes. It took half an hour.
Yes.
And lots of asking, but ultimately, by the time when he did come over to speak eventually, very nice, very gracious. He was talking about a film that's based on a really acerbic book about grief, and it's really strange.
So therefore, the nature of his promotion
his answers were very sort of sincere and serious, but he was very gracious with his time. We kept it simple.
Well, J-Lo was funny. We knew we weren't going to... J-Lo was coming through. She was technically meant to speak to us, but everyone just could tell J-Lo wasn't going to happen.
I was hoping we were going to have a Cumberbatch moment where we would end up getting her. However...
So she walks through the room and is, it's makeup, PR, hair, this fussy, which I've always known from my days in TV creates an anxious pop star, an anxious talent. The more you fuss over them, the more you protect them, the more they actually don't feel connected to the space.
And it was the biggest entourage of any person, right?
Totally. And I believe that she's, lovely, but I think she's obviously a huge star. But I was there waiting, beaming, and there's this factor which I tried to help you out when you were doing yours of like creating the negative space to show that it's a place that the celebrity can go into. So I was trying to like create the zone where it was obvious where she'd be. And as she was walking upstairs looking around, she looked me dead in the eyes and went, nope, not doing that interview, not doing you, and walked upstairs. And it was like, that was J-Lo.
That was it.
But she looked me in the eyes.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
There you go.
I had a good moment with Lucas Hedges and Naomi Ackie.
Yeah, they seem really nice.
I was, again, because like... Sometimes the talent would just stand there and they're ready to go. It's not that they're not rushed.
Got great pictures of you hanging out with them.
Yeah, and I said to Lucas Hedges, by the way, I saw you on stage in Brokeback Mountain in London last year. And he was like, oh, thanks so much. It's great, which was great because the director had seen it and she started just singing a song from it. She was like, oh, yeah, I love that fucking production. They were good fun.
He really, Lucas Hedges really dresses down. He doesn't dress like in designer clothing.
He looked like he was there to fix a boiler.
Yeah, he had like sort of, obviously like it's snowy, but he had like sort of like Salomon Trek shoes on with black tracksuits and like just a standard jumper. It's like he's someone who's just come from the gym. Not in a bad way, but I think it's quite interesting to be, if you're talented enough and dynamic enough and your acting work speaks for itself, you don't need to project all of these like famous colours and pop to like grab people's attention. It's like, he's got buzz cut, he's Lucas Hedges, he's been in Oscar-nominated films, and he's doing really exciting work.
And that was pretty much the most in terms of the talent we spoke to. We were hoping to get Lily Gladstone and Bowen Yang today, but that didn't happen. But on the whole, it was a great experience. But outside of that, so James and I are in this room for 5 hours for the past 3 days, locked in. And we kind of feel a little bit disorientated when you come out, and I don't know whether it's like 7,000 feet above sea level here as well.
We're 7 hours out of sync with our usual jet lag anyway.
But we're recording this just after we got out of the hot tub together, James.
Yes, we're in a hotel with a hot tub, and it's really fun to be in a hot pool when it's -6.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've been many times. You've been almost every day.
I went at 6:30 in the morning one day because it's that joyful thing of even when it's been snowing a little bit and it's so cold and it's refreshing. And when you've been in a highly heavily stimulated room, people, lights, doing stuff, you need to ground yourself in the hot tub. And looking at the mountains, it was a highlight.
The conversation we can't stop having, which is just generally about America and how distinctive an American this city is, because we've never been here, but historically it's a Mormon settlement that's sort of grown into its own thing, but it's like it's broad and the landscapes are vast. It's a skiing town, but it's also got highways running through it. The cars are 40% bigger than cars in the UK and Europe. The people have this really distinct American open energy. It's conversational, it's bright, it's positive. They're enthusiastic, they're very friendly. It's just funny. It's just funny to observe.
Yeah, and it's
the furthest west we've ever been.
It's the furthest west we've ever been. And you know what? Like, I would say 3 times a day, James and I are having like pinch me moments.
Oh
of just being like, what we don't really like. It's not just about speaking to the talent. It's just the fact that you'll be looking at this mountain range in this cold, And
it's so cinematic. In the same way that like New York, everywhere you look in New York, it's cinematic. But we'll just step outside our hotel, and the sky is lit up purple, and it snowed overnight, and it's gorgeous. It's like a winter wonderland, and it's flat, and then you just see mountains all around you. And it's really cool.
And we fly back tomorrow, and I do think there's going to be a little bit of a sense of a come down next week, and also a sense that, like, did we do that? Because it's been only 5 days. Did we go to this winter wonderland paradise? But we've had a great time, and it has been a real highlight. And we want to shout out to our agent Dylan, who's been with us the entire time and given us a huge amount of support. Just
repping us, like getting us from A to B, working with the client, who've also been really thankfully just been so lovely and open and cool.
Thank you.
And at the end of the day, they just want to make really good, great content. We want to make really good content. We want to have really great interactions with the celebrities, and that's been really easy.
And waiting in the queue in -15, whatever, for a movie, and this guy in the line goes,
"Oh yeah,
do you do the podcast? I know your stuff. That's amazing."
So good.
Shout out to Ben if you're listening.
Last year in 2024, we like to sort of plan what we want to do for the year and how we grow the show. And one of the main things that we wanted to do, and I'm sure if you followed us on social media for this year, you would have noticed, is we wanted to not change our content, but expand what we do to be beyond two guys sitting in a podcasting setup doing podcasting. We still do that as we're still here. Like we'll still always do that, and that's always our core. And the ultimate goal is to always bring people to the show. But we always wanted to ask this question: what if we did stuff that wasn't just podcasting, and we did film content that was us presenting with exciting people? And that's what Film Bites really was. That's what the junket opportunities have been. And it's been such hard work to develop the relationships with the PR companies to gain that trust to show that we could do it. And this the last year we had people like Sean Baker, who is nominated for an Oscar, Mikey Madison, and Brady Corbett, and we're really looking back at that and going, all of those Film Bites videos we've done, all of those junket opportunities we've done have so wonderfully built to this trip as a paid presenting job, and that's just been the best. And it's obviously from all of your support and from following us and from growing the show. And like so many times, me and George are just having dinner, being incredibly thankful for the fact that we get to do this as a job. And anything that we might complain about being tired, it's not immigration, which is a funny story I'll tell you in the episode, is just like a footnote in what's an otherwise really amazing
exactly
trip.
So thank you for listening to our show and supporting us over the years. We really appreciate it. And even if you're a new listener, thank you for joining us. And James and I, it's only a few years ago we were two nobodies. We still are nobodies, just recording in your flat because we like films. And now we're at the bloody Sundance Film Festival speaking to A-list talent, hanging out with Olivia Colman. Like it's just great.
And almost like not to be that person that tells you you can go and live your dreams, but like if you want to pivot what you do ever so slightly and you say, I like what I do now, I want to be seen in this light, just start doing it and do it to the best of your ability. And I genuinely believe like you don't need to ask permission to start doing things you want to do, especially on the internet. If you're really passionate about a subject or you want to be seen in a certain light and you want to work in a certain way, try doing it on social media a little bit. And like I really do believe like if you care as much about your work as I think you will do if you're a passionate person, like those opportunities really do happen.
But thank you. I mean, thank you for that and all your support for all time. And we've had a great experience. We will be, if you haven't checked out the main episode already from this week, the review of Saturday Night, you can do that. And Pulp Kitchen will continue next week as usual. And we love it.
We'll see you next week. Thank you so much. We'll be back in the...
We're back in Blighty.
Back in Blighty. Back down with a cup of tea. But yeah, we are flying home tomorrow. We will see you very soon in the UK. Take care, guys.
Bye.